Right now, Pittsburgh's best sports show is about to begin. Call us or tweet us. We've got things to talk about on the Ireland Contracting Nightly Sports Call.
Hello and welcome into the Ireland Contracting Nightly Sports Call. I'm your host tonight, Cassidy Wood, and boy, do we have a game to talk about tonight. The Steelers traveling to Cincinnati to face the Bengals for their second divisional game in just a matter of 4 days. We all know how these AFC North games go. They're ground and pound, they're tough. And sure enough, they have a second one in 4 days. And this game, too, very interesting. Two of the oldest quarterbacks in the league going up against each other. It's the second oldest duo in NFL history to go up against each other, aside from Brady and Breeze. Of course, that was the first, and now Rodgers and Flacco. So it's going to be very interesting tomorrow night. I'm joined alongside Chris Mueller tonight. And Chris, you know, it's going to be really interesting in Cincinnati tomorrow. And for some reason, Mike Tomlin has echoed multiple times how much he is not looking forward to facing Joe Flacco, even though, I mean, he's faced the Steelers 22 times. It's split even. But I guess he just can't get that Colts win out of his head from last season.
Well, I think that he doesn't want Cassidy to face Joe Flacco for a couple of reasons. If the Browns had simply not traded him, they would have still played Dylan Gabriel because they telegraphed their plans. They were going to go with the young guys and see what they had, and already kind of were looking at it as a lost season. Also, Flacco was very bad for the Browns. He was turning the ball over a lot, and that defense was ending up having to try to cover for his mistakes. But if he's still in Cleveland, then Tomlin gets Dylan Gabriel. He was licking his chops for good reason there. And then he would get Jake Browning in this situation, and Jake Browning has thrown 8 picks this year. And so I'm sure Tomlin, even on a short week, would have come into that situation feeling good. But you mentioned it, the Colts game last year, and here's the thing with Flacco. He has seen the Steelers 22 times in the regular season. He is 11-11, but he's got 27 touchdowns against just 12 picks in those games. He knows the answers to the test. Mike Tomlin is going to administer a test to any quarterback with coverages and scheme and trying to confuse that player. It's a lot easier to do that when the guy isn't 40 years old. I think Tomlin doesn't want to see him because he knows that if the pass rush doesn't get home with regularity on Flacco, he's absolutely capable of doing what he's always done basically from the day he got into the league, which is standing tall and throwing laser beams down the field. And he's got 2 really good wide receivers. I think Chase is still one of the best 3 in the league, sometimes the best. And we know that Mike calls T. Higgins a goon because he's such a big, physical dude. So I think that's why Tomlin is worried. And I'll be honest, I think it's somewhat well-founded. I mean, he doesn't have to deal with Flacco coming into a game unexpectedly, but the guy presents kind of the same challenge every time, and it's not one of those ones where you can just confuse him and scheme him into mistakes. He's going to put the ball where it's supposed to be if he has actual time to do it.
Yeah, and you mentioned Flacco's risk of turnovers, and I think an interesting stat we were looking at today, the Bengals are currently sitting 5th in the league in interceptions with 6, and 2 of those came against Flacco. They're now starting quarterback. So an interesting little tidbit there. As for Aaron Rodgers, obviously Calvin Austin going to be out in this one, so it's going to be really interesting to watch this pass game with Rodgers going up against right now a Bengals secondary that isn't doing poorly by any means.
Well, I think the thing about the Steelers offense that I'm going to be watching here is they might get lucky. Trey Hendrickson hasn't practiced. His back is messed up a little bit. If Trey Hendrickson doesn't play, the Steelers, and I know this is kind of a fool's errand to say about an offense that almost always leaves us wanting more and wondering why they can't be more explosive. If there's no Hendrickson, the Bengals should have no chance. I mean, because he's the only guy there that tends to make things happen. They do not, I think the Steelers in this case do not need to worry about anything else. I think they could get guys like Darnell Washington even more involved. Pat Freiermuth typically has the best game of his season every season when they're seeing the Bengals. And the one thing that is not like a normal AFC North matchup with at least this version of the Bengals, they can't run the ball. They're 31st in the league in yards per carry on average. They have no semblance of a running game if Joe Burrow's not there to actually make defenses respect them. So I think Mike Tomlin is probably going to try to heat up Joe Flacco early in this game, crowd the, really he could lay off. He could send some exotic blitzes. He can play too high. He can force Flacco to dink and dunk it down the field and eventually assume he's going to misfire in a couple throws. I just think the Steelers' offense has a chance to really get themselves going, too, on the other side, Cassidy, and gain confidence against a team that might be without its best player on that side of the ball.
Yeah, Trey Hendrickson leading the team right now with 4 sacks in this early season, but the Bengals did their practice report today still had him listed as questionable, so we'll see tomorrow if anything changes. All right, guys, go ahead and tap your phone up there. This is our Penn West University. Scan the QR code. Question of the night, do you think George Pickens will continue his hot start when CeeDee Lamb comes back? Let us know what you think there. Obviously, Pickens kind of going off these past few weeks ever since CeeDee got hurt. So let us know if you think he'll keep it up, and we'll continue that conversation after the break. Give us a call, 412-575-2600. Welcome back to the Nightly Sports Call. This is our Xfinity Tweet of the Night from Pony. The Steelers got a third-round pick for a wide receiver that's on pace to have one of the greatest seasons of all time. That's not a good trade. I'm sorry. 91 receptions so far, almost 1,500 yards, 17 touchdowns. Look, I don't know if it's the greatest seasons of all time, one of the greatest seasons of all time, but Molesy, I will say, Pickens is looking very good in Dallas, and I think a lot of Steelers fans are not necessarily upset about it, but a little bit disappointed just because in the beginning of the season, it kind of looked like, okay, the Steelers made the right decision here. He's in Dallas. He's a good compliment to CeeDee, and he was acting a little nuts in those first couple weeks too and didn't really have a leg to stand on yet. CeeDee gets injured, and now he's kind of balling out. So the script got flipped a little bit there, and it's been really interesting to watch.
I mean, he's got a chance to, I think, match a couple Cowboys team records. I believe there's only 1 or 2 other Cowboys receivers, if he has a touchdown this week, who have 6 consecutive games with a touchdown catch. He's up there with Amari Cooper and maybe T.O., but it might just be Cooper for a guy with 500 yards receiving and 6 touchdowns in his first, 5-6 games with the Cowboys. And so he's had a really good start to his career there, first 6 games, excuse me. But here's the thing. Pony's tweet is wrong, or Pony's opinion is wrong on this. I think the trade was fine. He's on pace for those gaudy numbers. I'll hit people with some other numbers. In the 3 games in which CeeDee Lamb was actually part of the active roster, Pickens was averaging 7.5 yards per target. In the 3 games that CeeDee Lamb hasn't played, to his credit, he's averaged 12 and 13 and 15 yards per target. He's been a monster. He's had 200-plus yard games, but he is still wide receiver 2 there when 88 comes back and is healthy. And I think that's going to be when the rubber meets the road for George Pickens. I think it's easy for him to say all the right things now and for everybody there to say all the right things now. But when he is not the guy who's getting 9, 10, 11 targets a game and he's got to do more or do the same with less, I wonder how it'll go. And here's one other thing. I could talk about this at length, really. He's got Dak Prescott. And,
right.
No offense to Aaron Rodgers, Dak Prescott's playing at an MVP level. He's playing terrific football. He has the most completions and attempts in the NFL. They are scoring constantly because they need to, and his quarterback is playing better than any Steelers quarterback has probably since pre-elbow injury Ben. Plus, George Pickens is in Dallas, where we know that the owner likes to be the biggest star who's always making the headlines. I actually think it's a lot easier for George Pickens to kind of fade into the background when you have an owner who's going on the radio 3 times a week because he wants to hear himself talk.
Yeah, I agree with that. Also, I mean, if George were still here this fall, how would he work with DK? I mean, that just would not be a pretty marriage whatsoever. So I do agree with you. I think the trade is fine. I think it worked out, well for both parties, clearly. So
they're getting the Pickens experience, like in terms of physicality,
yeah,
with Metcalf without any of the headaches. Like,
yeah.
I would love to see what the Venn diagram is of Steelers fans who are mad about this trade because of Pickens' numbers, who think genuinely that this situation would have worked out fine with him and with Metcalf here, and then compare that with the other, see how much overlap there is between people who have also said this team can't figure out how to utilize 2 wide receivers. Arthur Smith's offense has never really had 2 great wideouts. I would love to see what that Venn diagram looks like. I bet it's one circle.
Yeah, I agree with you there. All right, let's get to the phone lines. We have a few people calling in. Will in McKees Rocks. Will, what's going on?
Hey, thanks for taking my call. I have a question about tomorrow night's game. Going into Cincinnati, do you all think it's possible that the Steelers may be walking into a trap game?
I mean, look, the Steelers have a tendency to play down to their competition. We hear that time and time again. I do think, however, the Bengals are just so bad right now that if this is a trap game, they have serious things to worry about. Like, I just don't see any world where this could be a trap game, especially as we talked in the beginning of the show, Chris, if Trey Hendrickson is out. I mean, I really don't see a world where this could be a trap game. And if it ends up being a trap game, boy, do we have a long season ahead of us.
Well, I would disagree in this way. I think Trey Hendrickson maybe being out would make it even more of a trap game. I'm also going to push back a little bit. The Bengals had it to within one score against the Packers on the road multiple times. It was 10-7, it was 17-10, it was 24-18, and they needed to get one stop, and they couldn't to get the ball back. So they were frisky. I also think, my God, Halloween is like 16 days away. Mike Tomlin's personal boogeyman that he checks under his bed for every night is Joe Flacco. So at the very least, I would think Tomlin's going to have them ready because he's going to be painting Joe Flacco like he's the second coming of John Unitas wrapped up with Tom Brady, because to Tomlin, he apparently is. So I think he'll have him ready, but let's not ignore a couple other stats here, Cassidy. Mike has never, not once, in 6 division Thursday night road games, won. He's 0-6. He's 2-9 on the road on Thursday night in his career. Like, league average is closer to 500 there. He's terrible in these spots. So you would think that even like they're a 5.5-point favorite, and I get it, it's not Joe Burrow. You think he would have them like extremely ready for this game because he's stubbed his toe in this situation time and time again in the past.
Yeah, I mean, this is definitely a chance for him to snap that streak, and unfortunately he has to do it with, an older quarterback. I do think it helps, though, too, that Rodgers wasn't sacked once on Sunday, which is very impressive. That's the first time this season. I mean, just a couple weeks ago against the Patriots, he was sacked 5 times. So at least the offensive line, I think what they're doing right now, Spencer Anderson, Darnell Washington, having the, going heavy on the O-line, I think that is really helping. So, yeah, I mean, even if Trey Hendrickson does play, hopefully he has the right protection and they're able to move the ball quickly, because that's the only way they're going to get a win.
Well, I mean, I would say this about what the line did against the Browns. They completely neutralized Myles Garrett. My apologies to Pro Football Focus. I know his pass rush win rate was way up there, but I have plenty of reps I've seen cut up of Broderick Jones, even if he had a little chip help at the beginning, standing up Garrett on a one-on-one situation. Aaron Rodgers, there's a still shot of him on the long touchdown throw to Metcalf, thrown from the cleanest pocket it looks like he's had all year. Jones is doing his job. Right side's doing their job. You're quiet, like the quiet story, maybe not so quiet, coming out of that Cleveland game, is that Broderick Jones is starting to look more and more confident. It's hardly perfect. Like, I'm not going to sit out here and say he's Anthony Munoz 2.0 and he looks like, or Joe Thomas, and he looks like one of the best left tackles ever. But he is pretty slowly and surely gaining confidence. And when he was and such a big part of the Jones experience is, does the guy have the focus and he's happy-go-lucky? Does he know how to be a professional on the field and off? Like, does he have that locked-in mentality? His presser this week, his media availability, he basically borrowed from like the Bill Belichick or Mike Tomlin school of say absolutely nothing. He was just like, Trey Hendrickson's good. He's a tough guy. He's got all these moves. I've got to be ready. I've got to be focused. Like, there wasn't any playing around there. So I would think that's something that you can really watch as far as week-to-week growth is. Does that offensive line, Hendrickson or not, handle their business again in a hostile road environment against a desperate opponent?
Yeah, and in a short week, too. All right, let's go to John in Castle Shannon. John, what's going on?
Oh, hi, Miss Cassidy. How are you today?
Good. How's it going?
Oh, pretty good. Hey, up to this point, how do you think Mike Tomlin has been doing with the team so far? Bless.
I mean, hey, I think right now they're 4-1 at the top of the division, so I'd say he's doing a pretty good job right now. I mean, the other 3 teams are kind of crumbling as we speak, and that definitely helps, but Look, if they can pull out a win tomorrow night, more importantly, a statement win tomorrow night where, it's not a typical Steelers victory where all of a sudden we're stressed out in the fourth quarter. If they can pull off a clean win tomorrow night, I think it's going to speak volumes going forward for sure, especially when we talk about divisional play.
If they win clean and they win easy like they did against the Browns, where that game felt over with 14 minutes, 55 seconds left after the Metcalf touchdown, I'll bump the grade up a little bit more. He's at a B+ for me right now. He's not in the A tier. I'm still frustrated by some of the decision-making in the Minnesota game. I know he outcoached O'Connell and Flores. I get it. I still want him to be better situationally. And as much as Seattle looks like a defensible loss, just in the sense that Seattle looks like a pretty good team, Cassidy, they had a guy back there in Caleb Johnson who probably should never have been returning kicks in the first place. I put that on the head coach. And that blunder cost them a chance at a win and a chance at being 5-0 right now. But, all things considered, it's kind of a ridiculous notion to be quibbling with or undercutting Mike Tomlin's job performance this year. They have a chance to put this division in a chokehold if they win tomorrow night. A 4-game lead with a reeling Baltimore team would be pretty close to insurmountable at this point.
Yeah, plus it's still too early. I think this question would maybe do better come January. All right, guys, we're going to head to break. Give us a call, 412-575-2600. We'll be right back after this. Welcome back to the Nightly Sports Call. Chris, I want to touch on one more thing, and then I'm going to get your score prediction. But one matchup I'm really, really excited to watch tomorrow night is Jalen Ramsey, Jamar Chase. Look, not sure if Jalen's going to follow this guy the entire game, but they've been talking about each other all week, and I'm just really excited to see if he ends up being a lockdown corner on Jamar Chase and how that just pans out tomorrow night.
I think it's advantage Chase in principle because I think he's one of the 3 best receivers in the league, like I said earlier. But I think Ramsey could absolutely win the matchup still. And I think Ramsey right now, I'm willing to say this through 5 games. I have amended previous statements. He's my current Steelers team MVP. He's been great. He's setting the tone. I think he's just been absolutely terrific. That trade looks fantastic. 23-20 Steelers. It'll be too close for comfort tomorrow night.
Yeah, I'm going to go 24-14. I think it'll be a little bit of a bigger spread, but I think the Bengals are going to put up points. They're not totally incompetent, but I think the Steelers, will win by 10, most likely. But yeah, I agree with you. I'm very excited to watch that matchup. We'll see how it pans out. And I agree that Jalen Ramsey could be a front runner for MVP right now. The dude can play, we've talked about it time and time again, multiple positions back there on defense. So we'll see how it pans out.
I was going to say just one more thing about Ramsey and being team MVP. I think it's very obvious that Minkah Fitzpatrick, despite how the coaches loved him, was the kind of serious teammate that teammates don't always love.
Right.
I think they love Ramsey and they're following his lead. I think that's important for these guys.
Yeah, he's the leader in that locker room for sure. All right, thank you so much for joining us tonight. That is the result of your poll. No. All right, guys, have a great night. I'll see you next time. Same place, same time.